Hey guys, Mr. Hunter here. Lesson for today, we're talking about expressions and variables, as you can see from the page. The first thing getting into our lesson that I really think is important for everybody to know is what the difference is between an expression and an equation. This is something that comes up, throughout the year, and just kind of the difference in definitions. Today, what we're going to be doing is talking solely about expressions, but I still think it's important going forward that we know what the difference is between these things. Really, as easy as I can put it is that an expression does not have an equal sign. So it's going to be something that is something like 4 times 10 is an expression, whereas an equation is going to be something that has an equal sign. So it could be the whole thing, 4 plus 10 equals 14. So as soon as you throw on here this equal sign in the answer, that's what makes it an equation. I always say that the equal sign itself is what makes it an equation. So you can just have it as regular old numerical expressions in equations like I have it, or you can throw variables into the mix too. So if I did something else like, x divided by 5, that's also going to be an expression because there's no equal sign involved. The equation is going to be something when 2x minus 6 equals 14. Okay, so the difference between expression and equation, the equation always has the equal sign. What we're going to be solely talking about today is this part of it. Okay, we'll do equations another day, but today we're going to be talking about what an expression is. Okay, so a couple definitions for you here. We have numerical expression compared to a variable expression, and very small difference here. Numerical expression are going to be expressions that solely consist of numbers and operations. So just to write a few down here, 4 times 10 would be an example of a numerical expression. If I did something like 5 plus 2 is a numerical expression. Let's throw one more in here. Let's do 25 minus 5. All numerical expressions because it's all numbers and operations. That's all it is. All right, numbers, and then the operations would be if you have add, subtract, multiply, divide. Variable expressions, on the other hand, is going to again be an expression, so there's no equal sign involved. But this is when you also start to get variables thrown in there too. So I could have numbers, variables, and operations. Again, a few examples here. If I did 4 times d, because the operation is multiplication, the variable is the d, that's what changes it to a variable expression. Just a couple more real quick. X plus 2. As soon as you get those variables involved, that's what changes it from a numerical to a variable expression. 25 minus y. And really, guys, so all of these letters here, I think we know this, but just to point it out, when you have letters here, these are what we call variables. And variables variables are numbers. All right, the d, the x, and the y, those are all numbers. It's an unknown. If we don't know what the variable is, if we don't know what that value is, we just put a variable in place of it because we don't know what it is yet. If I were to know what it is, like if I look at just this middle one here, x plus 2, if I went ahead then and told you that x was going to be 10, well then we'd be able to solve it because we put 10 in for x, we'd do 10 plus 2, and we'd get 12. And that's really where we're going with this lesson today. But the way they're written right now, if they don't tell us what the variables are, if they don't actually go ahead and tell us what the variable equals, then there's nothing we can really do with it. Okay? Let's do a couple. Example 1. Evaluate the expression 4 times d when d equals 20. So I always start by identifying, well, what's the expression that they're giving us? This one is 4 times d. Oh, go back. My mistake. 4 times d. Okay. Where that little dot in the center means multiplication. Okay, so it's not always this old school multiplication anymore. We also have this multiplication dot, and even a lot of times what they're going to do here is instead of putting something in there, they actually might just do this where they squeeze them together. All right, there's no operation between them, and I know if this is the case that also means 4 times d, which also means that we're multiplying. So we start by writing down the expression 4 times d, and then they're going ahead and they're telling us what the variable equals. Since d is going to be 120, that's kind of, you know, the next step. Step 1 is to write down the expression. Step 2 is we got to plug the number in. So the 4 stays the same, multiplication still there. Now I know that d is 120, so I plug that in. And since it says evaluate, well, evaluate just means to solve it. So we go ahead and multiply. I'm taking 120 times 4. I'm sure we can all do this. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. To get a final answer of 480. I personally would love it if everybody circled their answer when they're done. That way when I'm looking at your work, I can jump right to the answer and see if you got it right or not. Okay? Let's do another one. Okay, example 2. This one's for you guys. So read the question, evaluate each expression when x equals 10 and y equals 4. Then what I want you guys to do is go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to do the problem. When you're done with both of them, then you can come back and you can hear me doing the problem. We can compare, and hopefully that we're all on the same page. So again, go ahead, pause the video if you haven't done so already. Do the problems, and then start back up. Okay, so hopefully you guys did each of these, and you're ready to see the answers here. So again, if I'm doing the first one, x plus y, okay, right here, x plus y, there's our expression, and up here they're telling us what each of the variables equal. They're telling me that x equals 10, y equals 4. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take those values and put them in place of our variables. Since the x is first here and they're telling me that x is 10, that means 10 is going to go first. We're adding the value of y. Since y is 4, I can plug that in. So my new problem becomes 10 plus 4, which we all know. Final answer of 14. And again, guys, if there's something that you missed, hopefully you can you see it from the way I did it. If not, ask some friends, call me over, and we'll get to the bottom of it. Here's what I was talking about before when they put these two variables and they're just kind of jammed together like that. Well, that's the same thing when we get moving more towards algebra. They don't use these old school math multiplication dots or even the x's anymore to show multiplication. What they do is just squeeze the two letters together. So this does mean that we're doing x times y. Again, we're going to plug these in. And I don't care how you want to show it. What you don't want to do is this and just write the 10 and the 4. And you might be laughing about it, but I see it year in and year out that somebody does this and they say the answer is 104. That's not the case, so I'm going to get rid of that. Somehow you want to show, what I could do is show multiplication here by doing the parentheses, so I know that this is 10 times 4. 10 times 4, of course, is 40. All right? If you didn't want to do the parentheses and somehow you just wanted to show multiplication by that dot, that would be okay too, whichever way you prefer. But somehow you have to keep it straight that is a multiplication. Okay? So that's the first part of our assignment, is just being able to evaluate or solve those expressions. The second part is they're actually going to have you write some expressions yourself. So what you're going to be doing here when it says writing variable expressions is they're going to give you a sentence that's written out. It could be something like 2 times the variable x increased by 5. And what you're going to have to do is change it from a sentence form into a mathematical expression where we're going to write that out using the operations and the numbers and the variables. So what I did here is made this little chart here for you, and I can even separate these out a little bit. Something that you might want to refer back to, a lot of these you know already. Keywords that when you're reading these sentences are going to mean what our different operations are. All right, again, there's only 4 operations. There's adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Okay, our operations. So again, read through them. Addition, plus, sum means that you're adding 2 things. Increased by, total, and more than. Subtraction, minus, of course. The difference is a keyword that means subtraction. Decreased by, fewer than, less than. Multiplication keywords are going to be times. Product, the product means multiplication. And one that you might not realize here is the word of. And we'll do a lot more with the word of when we get into our percents later in the year. But of is one of those sneaky ones that a lot of people don't know of. Division, not many there. Divided, quotient. Again, if you're stuck on a problem, you need to look back at some of these. Feel free to do so. Obviously, there's a lot of other words that also mean these operations, but here's some of the more common ones that you see. Just real quick here before we get to the next problem, I want to point out just a couple of them to you here. I want to point out this word more than, fewer than, and less than. These are ones that you want to kind of be aware of because most of these aren't too bad. But those three right there can be a little sneaky. There's kind of a little trick whenever you see the more than, less than, or fewer than. So let's go ahead and do a couple examples of these. Okay, so this is our last example of the day. I'll do the first one here for you, then I'll let you go ahead and try the last couple. Example 3, write a variable expression for each cent. So for part A, if I'm starting with this one, the product of 5 and the number. So when I'm looking at this, the first thing I want to do is look for our key word. In this one here, it's product. Okay, so if you don't remember what product is, we can go back to our chart here and look for the word product. Okay, looks to me like it's right here under multiplication. Okay, product. So that means that I'm going to be multiplying these things together. So product means multiplication. And most of the time here it's going to go, the rest of the problem is going to go right in the order that you read it in. The product of 5 and a number. So 5 times some number. Well, if it's a number where we don't know what it is, then that's where our variable comes in here. And we just write n. 5 times a number. And a lot of times you don't even have to put n there. You could put x, you could put y. It really doesn't matter what you use for your variable. Just a lot of the times, whatever we're trying to represent here, a lot of times you use the letter of what that word starts with. So because it starts with n for number, a lot of times I'll just put an n there. And even just to try to get you in the hang of this, guys, as we move forward here, we're even going to try to maybe not write that times that way at all. So another way that we learned today, instead of using that multiplication symbol, we can just squeeze the 5 and the n together like so. And that would actually be probably the preferred final answer. Okay, so what I want you to do to end the lesson here is pause the video, do B and C on your own, and when you come back you can finish out the video and compare your notes to what I did. So go ahead and pause the video, try part B and part C on your own. Okay, we're back. Here we go. The difference of a number and 3. So what should stand out to you here is this word difference. If I go back to my chart here, difference is going to be right here in the subtraction. Okay, so I know that I'm going to be subtracting some things, so I'll even just put down my minus sign already. What am I going to be minusing? The difference of a number and 3. And one thing I guess I can show you here too is this word and. Okay, because I know I'm subtracting, the and usually is going to separate the two things that I'm subtracting. Same thing back in part A, the product. I knew I was multiplying. What was I multiplying? Well, the two things are separated by the and. I was multiplying 5 and a number. In this case, I know I'm subtracting because it said difference. The and separates the two things. I'm subtracting a number and 3. So, n minus 3. Okay, part C. This one's the tricky one, okay? Because if you remember back before, more than was one of those words that I pointed out and said this is kind of tricky. We should know by looking at the table that more than means that we're going to be adding two things. And usually we write the number and the variable down in the order that it appears in the sentence. Since 8 is first and a number is last, that becomes 8 plus a number, which would be 8 plus n. As I said, though, more than, less than, fewer than, those are the tricky ones. And actually there's something special you have to do when you see these two things. And that's actually, if you see a word like that, you have to take these two things, in this case the two things that we're going to be adding, and you really got to flip them around here and say n plus 8. Okay, now I know it doesn't make too much of a difference because we're adding. No matter what n is, I'd get the same answer either way. But it does make a difference when we're subtracting. So when you see fewer than and less than. So even when we see a more than, we really should practice it the right way. We need to flip those things around because 8 more than a number means, well, I have to know what that number is first, and then I can do 8 more than that. So that's why you have to start with whatever that number is, and you're going to add 8 onto it. Okay, if you have any questions, ask them to a friend, ask them to me, and let's figure this out. Okay, that's the end of our lesson. Thank you very much.